Hello, everyone. I hope that you're doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Shikha, and I welcome you to my channel. As always, I'm so grateful that you're listening, subscribing, and commenting. I really appreciate the support. And in this one, I wanted to speak to you about this tendency that I think it's an INFJ tendency. I'm not actually really sure because I know that I've noticed it in some INFJs, but I don't know. I haven't spoken to all INFJs, obviously, to know if this is like a true INFJ tendency. But the polarity of this tendency makes me think that it might be an INFJ thing, because you know how INFJs are either at one extreme or the other. And so we have this all or nothing tendency. And so I imagine that what I'm going to speak about is going to be related to that particular tendency of ours to be at either extreme of things rather than in the middle. So I'll give you an example as a story first, and then maybe from that you'll be like, oh yeah, that's what I do too. When I was younger, I think I was 14, 13, 14, 12, 13, something like that. And I had this ardent desire. I wanted a pair of rollerblades. But they couldn't be just any pair of rollerblades. I couldn't just go to a store and buy a pair of rollerblades because that would be too easy. Yeah, and I don't want to make things easy for myself because I like making things hard for myself. And this tendency I have has been going on since I was a child. So obviously you can tell that I haven't changed that much. I thought I did, but I haven't that much. And so of course I had this idea in my head that I wanted a specific pair of rollerblades. They were red, silver, and black. And the buckles were silver, and it was black with red trimming, and I had a very particular image. I can still remember it perfectly well in my head right now, how it looked in my mind. And I think I might have seen it in a magazine, or maybe I imagined it in my dream. I don't know where I saw it, but those colors, they're one of my favorite color combination. I had a mechanical pencil once with that color combination. I lost it when we were traveling to Canada from Dubai. And I cried because it was one of my favorite pencils. And you can imagine what I'm like when I lose something that's precious to me. So anyways, going back to the rollerblades. So I had this idea of these rollerblades I wanted. And my mom was like, all right, cool, I'll buy you rollerblades for your birthday. I'm like, yay, awesome. Oh no, that was a huge mistake, because what happened was that we went to a couple of stores. Actually, we went to 2 stores, I think, yeah, which had rollerblades in them. And of course I didn't find the color combination I wanted. I wanted red, black, and silver, and it wasn't there. There were they're beautiful color combinations, beautiful rollerblades, of course. And I was lucky that my mom was like willing to buy me rollerblades, because we didn't have a lot of money back then. And the fact that she was like, all right, I'll buy you these for your birthday, was a big deal. I should have taken advantage of it. But I didn't. Oh. When I remember of that, I think about, my God, why do I make things so difficult for myself? And so, of course, I was like, no, these are not the ones I want. I want silver, red, and black. And my mom's like, well, they don't have it, so maybe you should choose a different color. Very reasonable request. But I got upset. I'm like, no, but I want these colors. If I'm not going to get these colors, I'm not going to get rollerblades at all. And so my mom's like, all right, fine, then no rollerblades for you, because we can't find these colors. And I was a little bit upset at that point, because I was like, oh my God, right. If I don't find these colors, I don't want rollerblades, but then that means I don't get to rollerblade at all. And that means that I won't learn how to rollerblade, which is something that I really wanted to learn. And I didn't, obviously, because I didn't get my rollerblades, because I threw a temper tantrum about not getting the colors I wanted. And my mom's like, nope, no more rollerblades for you, because you're a spoiled person. And so I never learned how to rollerblade. I still don't know how to rollerblade. I could have been rollerblading for the last 20 years if I had, not had this all or nothing tendency. This is just one example, actually. I have dozens of examples from my life of things where I was like, I want it exactly like that. And if it doesn't happen exactly like that, I don't want it at all. And it's a really terrible tendency I have, as you might imagine, because it really deteriorates or removes me from the actual experience of the thing. As I said, if I had agreed to buy any rollerblades, a second pair of rollerblades, like things that I didn't, with colors that I really didn't like as much, but were okay. I could have been rollerblading all this time. I could have been an expert. But I didn't. And so I did not get that experience. Same thing with other things that I was like, oh, I really want that particular thing. And if I don't get that particular thing, I'm not going to get it at all. Currently, I'm building a website for a new course that I'm building on boundaries, and I'm really excited about it. But of course, in my head, I have this idea of how it should look. And it's not turning out exactly how it's supposed to be in my head. And really, I have to stop myself from being like, all right, if it's not going to turn out the way I want it to look, I'm not going to do it at all. You know, I have this weird tendency. And of course, because I'm more of an adult now and a little bit more mature, a tiny little bit, I'm like, okay, stop this. You know, stop being so crazy. Just because you don't get exactly what you wanted to get doesn't mean that you should just completely scrap the whole project. That's nonsensical. You're being crazy, right? But back then, I was too young and I was too mature, and I didn't know that much. I didn't have any control over the situation either. Now, if I want something, I can go around and look for it myself as an adult. I don't have to rely upon someone else. But back then, I felt very powerless. You know, I couldn't go to 3,000 stores in the neighborhood and look at all the rollerblades and figure out if they had the pair that I wanted. I could only go to 2 stores, and that was a limit of my mom's patience as well. She's like, we've gone to 2 stores, you didn't find what you wanted, what do you want me to do, right? And so, of course, now as an adult and as the freedom that I have, of course, I have the capacity to go and search on my own. So that is it makes me feel a little bit better. Even if I don't find the thing I want, at least I searched for it myself, and I searched as much as I could. I gave it my best, right? So at that point, I can be like, all right, cool. I didn't find it, but at least I tried. Let me just get the second best thing that I wanted, right? But this all or nothing tendency, I don't think it's just in, I want this and that's it. I don't want anything else. It happens in every aspect of our life as an INFJ. It happens in relationships as well. We look for our ideal, and if we don't find our ideal, then we don't want anything else at all. Or if we find our ideal, but they're not interested in us, we don't want anyone else at all. We'll wait for that person for years and decades and until the end of our lives, because we imagine that, they're our ideal, and why would we settle for something else? The problem is obviously yes, you want to, aspire for the ideal, you want to aspire for the stars, but eventually if you aim for the stars, you might land on the moon, and that's pretty great as well, right? That's actually pretty good. So, of course, aim for the stars. Of course, aim for the ideal. Of course, aim for the best of the best, the thing that you perfectly imagine in your head. But then when you aim for it, you might end up with 50% of that ideal, maybe 75%, maybe 90% of the ideal, but not perfectly 100%. And you're going to have to be satisfied with that, because that's what life is about, I think. I'm not asking you to lower your standards in any way, shape, or form, obviously, but to realize that a lot of times in our worlds, in idealized worlds, we're living in a fantasy land, right? And I know I live in my fantasy land a lot, with a lot of different things. That's one of the reasons I might imagine that I'm not in a relationship, is because I have this ideal in my head, and of course the reality doesn't match up to it. And so I'm like, all right, fine. If the reality is not going to match up to it, I'm not going to do it at all. I just won't bother at all with relationships. I don't know if that's exactly right or exactly the way to do it, but I do know with my rollerblade story that I should have settled for second best. There were a lot of other colors that I looked at and found, and they were really beautiful, and I could have just chosen one of those, right? But I didn't, because I was stubborn. And also, I've spoken about us being stubborn many times. We are very stubborn. Once we decide on something, that's it. And if it doesn't happen, we don't want nothing. We want exactly that or nothing at all, right? And I don't know if you've experienced this in your life, but I do recommend that if you do kind of notice yourself going into these extremes of all or nothing, to realize that the best possible thing to do is, if you get all, great. If you don't get all, if you don't get your idealized view of things, then settle for second best. It's okay. It's not that much of a big deal. It's not going to be a complete disaster. In fact, instead of waiting for that ideal for the rest of your life to happen, perhaps it's better to wait to settle down for the second best and then have a great life with that, right? Not having anything at all and then having second best. I think having second best is actually a pretty good deal, right? Unfortunately, as I said, I didn't get the rollerblades at all. I could have had rollerblades, but I didn't get anything at all. I got 0. right? When I could have settled for second best. So I hope that my story and my mishaps with rollerblades and other things will kind of teach you a little bit of, how not to do things. Don't live Boom's life, right? Don't make Boom's mistakes. And so realize that a lot of times balance is actually somewhere in the middle, perhaps not even in the middle, somewhere a little bit below your ideal, a little bit off your ideal. Maybe not exactly on your ideal, not on target, but a little bit skewed from it. And that's okay. At least you're getting close to it. That should be a good thing, actually. It should be a goal worth setting, I think. Let me know what you think about this, and if you have stories like that, please share them with me so I don't feel like a complete buffoon on my own. And I'd love to hear from you on any subject at all, obviously. If you have questions, let me know. I'm always here to answer. If I have the answer, I'll give it to you. If I don't, then I will commiserate with you. And again, thank you so much for being on my channel. I shall see you the next time around. Bye for now.